Hi everyone. So I am here to do a top 5 Wednesday rewind. So basically right now we are just doing topics that we had missed. Or in my case maybe a few topics that I want to redo the videos for. So I am here to talk about banned slash challenge books. Now it seems quite a few of the books that I really love have been challenged or banned. So, of course, you are going to hear about books that I've talked about a lot. And the thing is, while I do like mindless things occasionally, I really prefer things that make you think. And sadly enough, things that make you think are often challenged because they're too violent, they're too explicit. They promote things that are different than you, right? So, I'm not really going to do this in a whole kind of order thing, but I guess I am in some ways. So, the first two books I will talk about is Speak by Laurie Halse Anderson and The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. Now, unlike the next three, while one does have sort of violence in it, I think it's kind of toned down compared to some other things or whatever. But let's start out with Speak. So Speak is a book about a girl named Melinda who is basically assaulted at a party, and she calls the cops. And she doesn't tell anybody why. She don't tell anybody what happened. So people just kind of think she's the snitch, as somebody in another review had said. And the book basically is about her coming to terms with what had happened. The fact that she was, for lack of better words, raped. And, how she's keeping this inside, and, the way her friends are treating her because they don't know what's going on and they're acting like basic teenagers that think they've been told on. And of course, the book has been challenged for, those serious issues and everything. Which I find kind of sad because that is something that happens. Teenagers party, they drink, and bad things happen. And that kind of stuff does, we hear about it and everything. You can't shield your kids from this. I mean, you hear about it on the news with high school and college parties and all this other stuff. So, there's not any hiding it from teenage girls. Honestly, people need to know safety, protection, all that stuff that should be common sense to teach. People go through issues. If you don't think your kid's ready to read about that, don't let them read the book. But there are some people who might have gone through something like that, or know somebody who has gone through something like that, or they need to be aware of signs and other things, with their friends, and like I said, the whole safety issue. Then there's The Fault in Our Stars. So basically, this book is being challenged, or it was challenged by like a middle school mom, I think it was. Because if you don't know what The Fault in Our Stars is, it is about two teenagers. They have other people in there too, but mainly these two teenagers named Augustus and Hazel, and they meet each other at a cancer support group. And it's basically about them dealing with this in their life, the fact that they have cancer, they don't have a cure, they have no idea how much time they have. And they're basically just trying to live their life. you know, they're falling for each other, but they know that they have this terrible illness and there's things they want to do in life and they have families and all that. And I guess it was challenged because it makes children question mortality. Basically, it's about kids worrying about the mortality. Yeah, it's about teenagers that have cancer. And no matter how much you try to shield your children from this book or any other book about it, because I'm sure somewhere out there something like a monster calls has probably been challenged too. I don't know, but I'm sure it probably has. Because people don't want to deal with real things. They don't want to deal with, stuff like suicide, rape, disease, any of that stuff. It's like, if they don't read about it, it's not real. But your kid is going to hear on TV about people doing bad things to other people. I work at a convenience store, and once in a while, we do donations. Like, we've done an MDA one, and I'm pretty sure we've done a St. Jude one. Yeah. You can also go on to places like Walmart, and they occasionally do a lot of Children's Hospital and St. Jude and stuff like that, donations too. So, your child is not going to be secure, safe from the reality that people, including children, get cancer and other diseases. I can see maybe not wanting them to read it until they're a little older, maybe around 14 to 16, because there is some mature content in it, because it is about teenagers, and teenagers are going through puberty, and they're, 8th grade is around the time you start learning sex education and stuff about, sex ed. So I can see why you might not want like an 11-year-old to read it. But if you're talking about the idea of mortality, by 11, 12 years old, children are pretty aware that people die, and unfortunately, people unfairly get sicknesses, both young and old. And while I can see people's problems with some of the things in the writing and the storyline, I still think that it did a good portrayal of trying to live a normal life when you know, or you at least believe, your time is limited. And children are going to have to grow up and face that reality. They are going to meet people with health issues, people, with family issues. Anything can happen. Their best friend can get in an accident. You can't shield them from everything. The next one that really gets me. Harry Potter. You know what it is? It's the whole witchcraft thing. So I can go into a whole debate about what the craft really is. The fact that there are many religions, even Abrahamic ones, that have practiced some type of magic or craft or whatever you want to call it, about the mistranslations of the Bible, that there are things that people see as normal or even praying that other people see as magical, mystical, etc. I have not fully studied it, but one thing that I have become interested in is what people refer to as conjuring, root work, or hoodoo. And I'm not too sure if many people are actually aware that those things, in their magical doings, if you will, for lack of better words, often use Bible verses. I think they use Psalms a lot, but I could be wrong. The other thing is, anything that is different than the normal And I don't want this to be seen as an attack on people who are of Abrahamic/Christian religions. This is for the lunatics, the lazy people who don't read stuff like Harry Potter. I'm not calling non-Harry Potter readers lunatics. What I'm saying is people who judge before reading. This is for these people who are delusional. I want to make that clear. This is not an attack on any kind of religion. It is an attack on crazy people of all beliefs. Because if you ban a book for these reasons, you know, before I lose my train of thought. So, when it comes to these certain people, many of them have been Christian, but I'm sure there are people who may be Muslim or Jewish or anything like that. Often they have certain structures of family and beliefs and everything, which is why I find it funny that they kind of attack the magical aspect of Harry Potter. A lot of times they will criticize things like feminism and women working outside the home and this and that, which brings me back to the point of Harry Potter. The Weasley family is a big, almost lower class family with a working dad and a stay-at-home mom. Now, granted, I haven't read the entire series to know if anything changes, but pretty much through like the first, 4 books, Molly is a stay-at-home mom. And she has, goddamn, how many kids are in that family? There's like 2 twins, there's Jenny, there's Ron. I think they have like 4 or 5 kids. They also celebrate Christmas in Harry Potter. You'd think that she would like throw a Wiccan or something in there because of the wizardry and witchcraft. No, they celebrate Christmas. They basically are Christians. One has a nearly traditional family. And it's about people, working together and, defeating evil. So yeah, that whole thing there is just, it's the crazies. I just want to point that out. It is the crazy people. Another book that I know has to come from a lot of religious people, or misguided religious people who probably have not read the book or did not understand the book, or mainly not even just religious people, but overly sensitive people. And that is The Giver. So The Giver is about a boy named Jonas who lives in this world, this community, where people don't have choices. Everything is laid out for them. Their spouse is picked for them, their children, their occupation. They're not allowed to experience weather or see color or any of that kind of stuff. So there is talk about what they call release, which they do to the elders, which is basically they put them down. There's a scene in there where this happens to an infant, and people were very bothered by that. There's also the ask for release, which can be seen as a form of suicide. And it's like, you have to understand that this is talking about what could happen if we were not allowed the freedom to make choices. If we hide from the bad things, because in order to have the good things, you must have the bad things. And this shows what happens when we try to hide, that we can't. We just give them different names, and we hide behind that. The truth is, no matter how, basically how I feel it, is the point of the book is no matter how hard you try, you will never escape certain things. You cannot make the world perfect. You cannot make it completely safe. And then, of course, I have to talk about my most favorite. The reasons for this I understand, but are also kind of ridiculous. And I kind of wanted to talk about this after The Giver, because it kind of follows the same things in a way, or the same reasoning for being banned or challenged. So this has been described as anti-family. Okay, so the main protagonist, she lives in the poorest district, which is the coal mining district. Her father died in a mine explosion, along with her friend Gail's father. So her mother went into this deep depression. And basically that left her to do things to help her family survive. Like, they really don't have stores or anything, so she has to go out and hunt, but hunting is actually illegal. So she risks going to jail or even being killed on site just to feed her family. She took her sister's place in the games because that's how much she loved her sister. The games are a televised fight to the death. There's a thing called Tesserae, which I've talked about in, like, you know, my review and everything. You know, that you put your name in more times, you can get oil and grain. So she's risked just going, the chance of going to feed her family. She puts her life at risk all the time. And while she's angry at her mother, she still sticks by her. She still loves her. So if that doesn't show a strong family bond, I don't know what is. And also her friend Gail, which I'm not a big fan of, but he does go out to help support his family. It has been criticized as anti-ethnic, which I don't understand, because there are references to people of different, like, skin tones and stuff. But there's really not a whole lot to talk about certain ethnicities or cultures or whatever. Like, not too many people are referred to as straight, black or white or Asian or anything. According to Collins, I think that people are mostly supposed to be very mixed in this world, but of course there are people who are still whatever race or nationality. So I do not get that. In fact, in the book, she is described as having olive skin and straight black hair. I can see where racism came in or anything like that for the movie, because they only were looking for white actresses. Now, I think the way she's written, she can fit many types of people. There are people who are considered Caucasian or European, such as Italians and other people who have what is described as olive skin. There are, you know, cultures in Asia and such, and even people of African descent that have, you know, that skin color, or native and indigenous people, or mixed race people. So I think she's written in a way to kind of cover a lot of people. And I don't want to say she's an insert yourself in kind of person, like some people claim Bella is, but, you know, I think she, like I said, she's described as a way how many different types of people are. She's a person that struggles to help her family. She's not the richest person, because we hear about rich people and stuff all the time, you know. So, yeah, I think she's perfectly fine. The family thing is, while, you know, it can be challenging, it's fine, because life isn't rainbows. And the whole violence thing, it's... So, a mom challenged this because it gave her child nightmares. Well, I hate to break it to you, but much like the other books I've talked about, not everything is for your child. And the thing is, violence happens. If you are upset about this, how do they handle history class? By 11 years old, you're learning about stuff like the Civil War. And that dealt with people in America killing each other. Okay, Civil War. Slavery and other stuff. And, you know, then in a few years, they'd be learning about World War II and the Holocaust. It's like, how do these people's children deal with the real world? And this video has become very long because I've sort of kind of gotten ranty and I'm kind of getting thirsty. So I'll have to end this. But the thing is, yeah, it's kind of hard for me not to rant and to, you know, try and put into words what I want to say. But yeah, that is my very, very long video on 5 books that have been banned or challenged. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.